So my talk is about don't just use Ethereum, help shape it. I'm Jochem, I'm from the prototyping team of the EF. And one of the things which I really like to do is reviewing EIPs. So what I do is, when I drink some coffee, like this one, I will open up the EIPs repository, I will see if there are new EIPs, and then I will check out this EIP and think, okay, is it like a great idea, is it not a great idea? And well, maybe this EIP itself is not very clear, so then I will leave feedback. And maybe just to check, like who of you in this room is an Ethereum Magicians user? So who of you has an account there? Okay, that's great, because that's actually more than I expected. And who of you also knows, who of you heard about Ethereum Magicians? Okay, that's almost the same people, so that's interesting. So the Ethereum Magicians forum, it's like the place where the discussions go, where feedback goes. We currently have 9,000 users, and well, as you all know, we have like tons of daily Ethereum users, but only a handful of them participate in improvement discussions. So imagine this. I have like a great idea. I want to build a coffee bar. So I have this, I have created this EIP 9 times 9. And I create this idea, and it's also really nice because Pooja just mentioned about the coffee at Devconnect. This is also like some part of feedback, how we can improve like the venue or like the event for everyone. What I'm doing with this proposal, I want to create like this coffee bar, and what is happening now is that there is no feedback on the proposal itself. So I think, okay, great, this my idea apparently looks good. Then I go to ACD, we do like a temperature check there, and well, just like you know how you should drink coffee hot. The ACD says, well, great idea, let's do it. However, then we actually start to build the proposal, and well, you can see like on the right what happens. You can also see on the left my proposal. Build a coffee bar inside the desert, well, that's an interesting idea. We use a great coffee machine, okay, which one? And the roof says tea, well, that looks a little bit weird and it looks wrong to me. So there are like many problems with this EIP. So the result is that people are actually going to start building this thing, and this is like a sunk cost. So people start building this, and then they realize, well, this idea is not very good. And for me, like as an author, I get somewhat irritated because I did not get any feedback, and then later on in the process, people say, yeah, okay, but like you should have done this and this and this, and I think, okay, but why? Because you did not give me any feedback. So the end result is that we do not get a coffee bar. That's not nice, and we might also demolish the coffee bar. So we have started building this thing, and then we demolish it. So we have like this sunk cost. So this is like an analogy with the EIP process. EIPs work the same. And then the question is, why is there so much silence? Because as I just mentioned, there are like, well, 9,000 Ethereum Magicians users. We have like tons of daily Ethereum users, and there is like almost no feedback. So I just checked like last week on the Ethereum Magicians forum, there were only 20 posts in the EIPs category. Only 20, and this includes new threads about new EIP. So this feedback is not there. So what I am also seeing is that like discussions about EIPs, they are there, but they are not at the Magicians forum. So we see them on Telegram, we see them on Signal, we see them on Discord, and this is maybe like also one of the, well, problems, because if you want to discuss something, then you need to know like where are these discussions actually where are these happening. So what we really want is that like a summary of these discussions, like it is logical that you, when you talk to people, that you don't do this via a forum. But what we like to see is that these, the summary of this discussion ends up at Ethereum Magicians. Because when we do that, then people know that people have discussed this thing and also what the outcome of this is. So we don't have to do the same discussion again. And then we also know like, okay, this discussion is happening there, or you should talk to these people. So also about like the discussion point itself, like you could also point like, yeah, we have this thread on Discord, or we have like this channel in Telegram, or we have like this signal or whatever. Like no one is going to come to your channel and then scroll back 1,000 messages and read it again. People are also not going to rewatch like a breakout call or like whatever. That's not going to happen. Like we really want like a summary to that people can like quickly get up to date, like what's actually going on, what are we discussing. So what we want is that people post summaries on the Ethereum Magicians. So the end result is that this decreases the total time of the community what is spent on like an EIP. Because you could imagine that there is like some research going on, and that no one of these, like there are two research teams, and they are doing this research, and they do not actually know that that the other team is doing exactly the same research. So at some point they find out, okay, great, we are doing the same thing, but now we have, well, I will not say waste time, but like everything which is done 2 times, like the time spent on that could also have been spent on other things, like for instance, other EIPs or other research. So that's one of the things I want to give to people, like, okay, if you have like a discussion or you have like an opinion or whatever, like please post a summary on Ethereum Magicians. And this would especially apply to core developers, because this only takes 1 minute of work, and it saves a gigantic amount of spend time, because now you know, okay, people are, like the EIP author, you now know, okay, people are working on this, they have like some problem, then you can go back, you can ask these people, okay, you apparently had this problem, what should we do to fix this? So, the optimal process, that's what we want to optimize, is we want to minimize the total time of everyone. So, you want to provide this feedback at a central place. So this is then Ethereum Magicians. So not some Telegram channel, not some Discord thread, or not some Signal channel somewhere. And this feedback should then include concerns, or like how should we address these concerns. And the EIP itself, that's like the entry point of these kinds of discussions or research. It should be self-contained. So it should not have like some assumptions, like some technical jargon, like which is used in certain research groups. Like you should take an EIP, you should only read it once, and then you should realize, okay, this is what's going on, this is the entire idea, and this is what the EIP wants. So you can also implement it from the EIP in one go. So now the question is, how can you help here? Well, of course, this is the main message, is to provide feedback, because communication is key, also with the EIP process. And I think one of the reasons why there is not so many feedback done, also on Ethereum Magicians, but also in general, is that there might be some misconceptions. So I think to enter the EIP process, people might perceive this as to have like a very high mental barrier to enter the EIP process. So I think the biggest myth is that people need to be a core developer. So you need to be like super deep into the protocol and like have a super deep understanding of like what is Ethereum, how does the protocol work. This is just not true to help with the EIP process. So what you can do, you can take an EIP, you can read it, and then you can provide feedback over the quality of the EIP. So you could say, okay, like this thing is defined in section 2, but it is actually referred to in section 1. So that means you cannot read or understand the EIP in one go, because then you first have to be at, well, you have to basically do the search in the EIP itself. Like it's in section 1, it refers to some constant, which is actually defined in section 2. That's not nice. And people who are writing this EIP, they might not realize this, because this constant itself is in people's head. Like they know, oh yeah, this constant, like we use it everywhere, so you know it. So when reading this EIP, when proofreading your own EIP, there's a very high chance that you don't realize that this constant is defined later on, and that you should actually move this before. So this is like a very simple thing. You can read the EIP, then you go to Magicians and say, oh, hey, listen, I see that you are using this constant, but it's defined in a later section. Another myth is that, and I think this is one thing I realized myself well, very late, I would say, is I was always afraid to ask like some question or make a point, which I thought, okay, this is just like a very dumb question or like a very dumb point. I think that there actually are no dumb questions and there are no dumb points to be made with EIPs, because sometimes an EIP might be confusing to read. And like, if you ask like this dumb question, like when you ask these things, then the author might first think like, wow, okay, this is like such like a simple question, but then the author might realize, oh, okay, wait, but I might actually be explaining this thing in a very confusing way, and then people will, then authors will go back to the EIP and make this better. So, yeah, so the reality is like this, the confusion points of the EIP, and there might also be a question like, why do you want to do this? So the EIP itself, like it might be technically correct, but people might think, okay, why would you even want this? And this is especially, I would say, especially important for smart contract developers and also people who use smart contracts. Like for instance, well, basically anyone who uses a smart contract, so decentralized exchanges or like whatever. Like if you find a problem or like you have some challenges which you want to solve, and one of these EIPs solves them, go to Ethereum Magicians, say, oh wow, great, we have this project and this EIP would like make our entire process much faster to solve and much better. One of the other myths is that people assume that an EIP is getting enough attention. So, oh, there's this EIP proposed, and well, it might have been on the agenda of ACT, so all cool devs, and that people assume that it has enough attention. Well, the thing is, and I would really say this also to everyone here, like people have a very limited attention and really get involved into the topics you care about, because usually it turns out that either no one or like one or two persons are looking into this, and we really want to crank this up. So let's see, how can you provide good feedback? Or, well, from the EIP which I proposed, like how can you do this? So, for instance, this thing was like, okay, build a coffee bar inside the desert. We go to Ethereum Magicians, and then you ask, okay, why do you want to build it in a desert? Because, like, I love coffee, but I'm not going to travel to this coffee bar inside this desert. Yes, thank you. The second thing is about like, okay, we want to use like this great coffee machine. Okay, but yeah, what is a great coffee machine? Like what do you mean with this? No, did you look into the Devconnect coffee, for instance? And the second, the last thing is, okay, the roof says tea. Well, that looks wrong. So I think that actually should look coffee. Should say coffee. And you can also like have like some response about the entire EIP. Like, okay, if you have like an internal discussion about it, then the idea itself looks fine. But the problem is that, well, it actually has no seats and there is also like no roof. And that, well, and that might be like, well, it depends, but some group will not support this building. And that they also endorse all the previous feedback. So after we've done this feedback and all these cycles, then what's happening? Well, look, now we have provided this feedback and now everyone is happy and we have like this very great EIP. So, what to do? The first thing is that you should stay up to date with the latest EIP changes. And the best way to do this is you go to GitHub, you go to Ethereum, and then the EIP's directory, the EIP's repository, and then you watch the repository and you say, oh, activity. Well, just a heads up, you will get like a lot of notifications, but you will also know when like a new EIP is being added. And if you have then feedback on these EIPs, then post your feedback or your discussion summaries into Ethereum Magicians. So the URL is also there, ethereum-magicians.org. Create an account, do it today. And yeah, as I mentioned, like a few minutes of feedback will reduce the total time of everyone spent by tons. And also like any time spent on doing work done by others or in the past, that's time which could be spent better elsewhere. So about these EIPs, like when you have, when you have added yourself to like watch this repository, like try to at least review one EIPs per week, find an EIP, read it, and then provide feedback. And you can also go to the eips.ethereum.org and then look there, like okay, what looks interesting, and let's do that. All right. that was my talk. Thanks a lot. Here are my handles for Telegram, Discord, and X. And well, hope to see your reviews very soon. Thank you. I can look at it.
Are there any questions? We have 5 minutes. If there are any questions, people interested in how we can participate. Yes, there is one.
Hi, how are you? I would like to know the difference between EIP and ERC. And also another question, if I write an EIP about everything I want.
Sorry, can you repeat the
like
last
a
question?
limit or, sorry?
Can you repeat the last question?
The last question? Yes. If I can write an EIP about everything I want, or I have to follow some specific things or subject.
Okay, so the first question was, what's the difference between EIPs and ERCs? So like a very high level response, or well, that's actually, I'm looking at to Pooja, but the EIPs is about like the core protocol, and the ERCs are the application layer. Okay, great. Yes, thank you. So these are like really oriented, like for instance, like ERC20, that's like the ERC20 token specification, like how you should write this contract interface for like tokens. The second question is like, if I have like an EIP, you have an idea, like how should you do this? This process is in EIP 1, I think. Yes. Okay, great. I got a thumbs up from Pooja, so that's it. It is in EIP 1. So this has like the entire process and also like the format of how you should do this. And also like if you open like a draft EIP, like you will get an ETH bot on GitHub, and it will say this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, and it will help to fix these things. So this should not be a barrier to write your EIP. And you can of course also reach out to us. Like we really love to help you. Yes.
As we mentioned in the beginning of this presentation and in the beginning of this summit, there are so many things around, and we are around to help you out. If you have any other further question, I guess we have 2 more minutes before we have our next speaker. So if there are any more questions, please ask. Otherwise, we are around, and you can come and meet us at the backstage.
So you've covered ETH research and Ethereum magicians, and seeing the amount of hands that were raised about who is partaking in ETH research actively or ETH magicians here. Would you be able to maybe walk through the reasons someone would post on ETH research or read on ETH research versus on magicians?
So this was mainly about Ethereum magicians. And the reason for this is like the feedback loop. So really, like if there's no feedback, then there's no way it's an improvement proposal, and there is no way to improve your improvement proposal if there is no feedback. So that will be for Ethereum magicians. For ETH research, I will not be able to answer that now, but I think also for that, like it's also about feedback. Like okay, this is wrong, this is right. Like also a feedback loop. Yes.
Actually, you have covered it pretty well. So the main difference between ETH research posts and Fellowship of Ethereum Magician posts that we expect to get is, ETH research is only the idea. That may or may not be a proposal at the time. But eventually, when it is accepted, someone agrees to write and document a proposal, then we want them to open up ETH Research Magician Forum thread link for open discussion. We want to invite participation from clients, from community to see whether they are open to implement this proposal. So that's where we get into ETH Magician Forum. And before that, we are into ETH Research.